The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Just the tip. Wait, what?
Oh.
I'm about to say, point of viewer, that's usually on Saturdays, bro. But again, you're more than invited to come on the show.
I popped Brandon, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's the tip-off. Wait a minute. That doesn't sound right either. Well, I guess it is, though. Hi, everyone. Your friends and family over at the Kickoff joining you once again with this time the 2019 NCAA tournament preview episode where we will be giving you our predictions for our upsets and what we think is going to happen. Obviously, we know nothing, as last year clearly proved, but maybe this year we'll do better. Probably not, but hey, anything's possible. It is indeed the tip-off here on the W2M Network. I am your host. My name is Harry Broadhurst. Joining me, as per usual, it's the same cast of characters that you know and love. The co-host turned executive producer, Brandon Biskobing.
Be prepared for Jason levels of homerism on my part.
The executive producer turned co-host, Erik Watkins.
Now we're gonna talk basketball.
I mean, technically speaking, the only one who isn't going to be a homer on this show is Erik.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Jason doesn't have a team either.
Yeah, I guess technically.
Well, my second favorite team is in the tournament.
I thought your second favorite team was Marshall.
You can go burn in hell.
His second favorite team is Duke. I remember that from last year.
Okay, fair enough.
Ugh. The voice you just heard, the Dookie himself, is Jason Teasley.
No, my name is Jason Matthews, and I'm a correspondent here in Cincinnati for CBS Sports. And I'm reaching out to the chair to see if he would like to fill an obligation and opening that we have in our writing department. I popped Erik.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. The views and opinions of Jason Teasley do not necessarily reflect those of any sane person. Anyway.
No, the views and opinions stated by Jason Teasley pretty much agrees with everybody on the Kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk tournament, gentlemen. The first four is underway as we're recording this for point of reference, not cooler, although that will be available again soon. For point of reference, we're recording this Tuesday night as the first four is going on here. We have 61 of the 64 teams officially confirmed. There are 6 other teams that are still vying to get into the tournament. Belmont currently leads Temple by 6 at halftime in a game that has been definitely very much run heavy. Because at one point, Belmont was up 5, and then Temple went up like 7, and now Belmont's up 6 as we're getting ready to start the second half here.
That's basketball for you.
Let's go Belmont.
Overall, Erik, what are your thoughts on this year's field of 64 as the way that it's shaping up right now? Do you think it's as good as last year's tournament? Do you think it's worse? Do you think it's better? What are your overall thoughts on the 68 teams that were selected to participate in the madness? Okay.
I think it's a little bit worse because this one, even though I was a little bit generous with a couple of my upsets throughout the bracket, you're going to get that usual handful of first-round upsets and maybe a slight one to the Sweet 16, but would it surprise me from there if it turned out to be all chalk? No, it wouldn't, because outside of Gonzaga, your 1 and 2 lines, I think they got just about right, and those are really going to contain your teams that are going to dominate this year. At least in theory.
But that theory always goes out the window. The only year that I remember that it actually turned out that the number 1s and 2s dominated the tournament was back in 2009, 10 years ago.
Right, and I'm thinking that it could be potential for this again. Do I have my eye on a couple of lower seeds making it? Of course I do. But again, I'm not going to have that shock if we see, for only the second time ever, all 4 number 1 seeds going through. It would be
I'm going to foreshadow something. I have an upset that will make you guys probably fall out of your seats.
I have a couple of doozies planned for later on in the show when we do this as well. And I got to say that I need to go back and listen to last year's, because I know there were a couple of them that we did last year that landed and none of us thought were going to. I know personally 2 of my major upset picks that I announced on the show live when we did the preview landed.
I can't remember what I recorded last night, much less anything I recorded last year.
Well, I know last year I picked Loyola Chicago over Miami in the first round, pissing off Erik, and then
I do remember you taking that.
And then we all know where Loyola Chicago ended up, all the way in the Final Four. They're in the NIT this year and actually playing as we speak right now in the NIT against.
Is the old lady dead?
No, she's still there.
You
know, and how dare you refer to Sister Jean as such?
No. Right, because I am going to say the only reason I didn't fly to Chicago, A, I don't have 1,500 minimum to do while I'm
What the fuck is that?
Sorry, I had a microphone malfunction. I'm back.
Okay. Thought somebody was unwrapping a Twix, and I was getting jealous.
Well,
no,
2 left.
I went
2 right Twix.
Oh, right, obviously.
All right.
I'm a left-handed guy.
Well, I apologize for that. Brandon, what's your view on the 64?
I think they pretty much got it right. There wasn't really, like, over the last couple of years, we've had those, like, 1 or maybe even 2 big snubs that everyone's talking about. You don't have that this year. You don't really have a big snub that everyone thought, oh, they should have gotten in, but they didn't. So I think they got it pretty much right.
The committee said that the last team into the tournament was St. John's. They play tomorrow in a play-in game against Arizona State. The 1 lines in the NIT tournament were UNC Greensboro, Indiana. Hold on, I'm trying to remember the other 2. I had it in front of me, and then I clicked to a different page. But they talked about how the first 4 teams that were left out of the NCAA tournament now become the automatic 1 lines in the NIT.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
All the more reason why my idea, I really think, can pay off.
Which is?
Erik.
Yes?
You know what, Erik? I need a few seconds. Go ahead and discuss the Super Tournament.
Okay, my Super Tournament, the real Final Four, I was thinking about this, and it was also, Jason and I had a similar idea, but then I had to make tweaks to mine to make it better. You have 4 tournaments as we stand now: the NCAA, the NIT, the CBI, and the CIT, the CollegeInsider.com tournament. My idea for a super playoff: you make all 4 tournaments 32 teams apiece. With what would have been the NCAA, I now call the Champions Tournament, is just that. Your 32 conference tournament champions. They play each other.
Okay.
For the NIT, your 32 regular season conference champions. Because regular season conference champions get automatic bids in the NIT if they do not go to the NCAA tournament as is. Now, if the regular season champion also wins the conference tournament, that spot then goes to the second place team. Now, the CBI, as it currently stands at 16 teams, I would expand that to 32, but have it, as Harry mentioned, your Power 6 conferences, but I would expand it to your main majors, which would be football-wise considered FBS schools, those teams that would have had either at-large bids or been right on the bubble anyways. Keeping the collegeinsider.com tournament for your 32 mid-major teams to get them better representation. You have all 4 of those tournaments play out, get those 4 tournament champions. Those 4 tournament champions go to your NCAA Final Four, duke it out for a national championship.
Okay, I don't know who's constantly getting text messages right now, but I can hear your phone vibrating.
As can I.
Just as a heads up. The only issue that I foresee with that, Erik, is that you could be looking at sub 500 teams making runs in tournaments to get towards tournaments. Or the case of the 32 in the College Basketball Insider, as you would have it, the CBI, is the mid-majors might not have enough teams that are at or above a certain level in order to make said tournament.
Well, your CIT is already at 32 as is, and that's considered the third-tier tournament. The CBI, the College Basketball Invitational, that's the only one that would expand. And if you were to look at current numbers, if you take the field of 68, then the third 64 from the NIT and the CIT, and then you add the 16 from the CBI, you have 148 teams. I would actually decrease that number by 20, and you only have 128 teams. Thus, with a more probability that you have teams with at least a 500 record or better. Now, if the mid-majors cannot fill the CIT, then you would have that open to more what you would call bottom-of-the-barrel spots for your major schools.
The issue with that is there's a lot of issues in regards to how they would market it and all of that, because while yes, the Cinderella stories do sell the NCAA tournament, at the same time a lot of people want to see the bigger schools as well. So it's like, if you only have 5 or 6 in the NCAA tournament, are people gonna watch it?
Well, here's also the thing. Outside of the NCAA, your other and the NIT semifinals forward, your other postseason tournament games are held on campus sites. That would actually be easier. Now, the only problem would be television.
Mm-hmm.
That would have to negotiate heavily, and I do agree with that. But from the fan bases, those coming out and seeing it in person, it may even be better.
Oh, yeah. In terms of actual attendance, it definitely would be better.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 number 1 seeds in the NIT to go with Indiana and UNCG are Alabama and TCU. Jason, you've been relatively quiet about the tournament thus far. What do you think of this field of 64 that we have? Well, 68 technically.
I think it's pretty balanced. I mean, this bracket was kind of hard to pick. Typically your number 1 overall seed has one of the quote unquote easier brackets, but I'd look at Duke's bracket and it's pretty stacked. The only complaint I have with the bracket is certain teams getting home games if they make it to the Sweet 16. I think that they're where certain teams got shipped to could have been better planned out. But it is what it is. We're going to just roll with it, and I think this will be a better tournament than it was last year.
Real quick, Erik, if it's any consolation about that team possibly getting a home game in the Sweet basically a home game in the Sweet 16, it draws arguably the best of the 5 seeds in the second round if it comes to that. There's an entire possibility that they might not see the Sweet 16 this year, and I say that as a fan of that team.
Well, I've got one. I don't know if it's a beef, but it's kind of a question mark. From my understanding, and the committee mentioned this previous as part of the rules for the bracket, you cannot same bracket 2 consecutive years, and you have to avoid conference matchups until the Elite Eight. Looking at the bracket shaping out, I don't know if they forgot that rule or if they rescinded it because there is
rescinded.
Okay, because there's a potential conference matchup in the Sweet 16, and I'm like, wait, they can do that now?
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of potential conference matchups in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, there's a few.
The very first one that sprung to mind for me was the possibility of Duke and Virginia Tech.
And then right underneath that, you have the potential for Maryland and Michigan State.
Yeah, that one of those two I have circled, and I brought it up for a reason. Stay tuned.
We'll talk more about our predictions a little bit later on here. My overall thoughts on the bracket are it looks relatively balanced. Like Jason was saying, there's no real standout region that kind of strikes you as region of death this year. What the hell is that? Jason, wake up.
Who?
You with us?
I got disconnected. I came back in.
Okay.
I think we're having connectivity issues here. Is everybody good?
Yep.
Sorry, apologies to those listening if we are live.
I'm good, but so far, Brandon, I don't think this counts. So you lost our little pre-show bet there.
Damn it. Well, we did kind of go off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, we started off the rails. All right,
Exactly.
Let's continue with the show then. Apologies to our listeners for the technical difficulties. It wouldn't be an episode of the Kickoff without them. That being said, there's no real standout group of death this year. The three lines in each of the groups, I would argue that the weakest three line is in Duke's group because LSU is a basket case at best right now with everything going on with Will Wade not being their coach anymore, possibly permanently. Houston, I think, might be the weakest of the three seeds overall as an overall team. And I don't buy Purdue as a legitimate 3 seed either. But that being said, otherwise, 1 through 4 in most of the other regions, I don't really have an issue with. Because you have... Go ahead, Erik.
I was going to say, I get Gonzaga, but if the whole thought process was when they lost the West Coast Conference final, that shrank the bubble by 1, when they were expected to beat St. Mary's pretty much going away, how did all of that still justify them as being a 1 seed? I would have dropped them down a little bit.
I said it somewhere.
I don't have minor. I don't really have anything else.
I said it on a group chat, and I honestly do think this played an impact. I think the committee wanted to show the world and show the country that we don't have a bias. We will put whoever we think is the top team into the number 1 slot. So they made a
Yeah, we don't have a bias. Let's just give all the number 1s to the ACC.
Well,
I object to that.
Yeah, that was the thing that kind of upset me, and especially given Virginia's recent history as a number 1 seed. Like, I get that they're 29-3 this year. Good for you. Congratulations, y'all freaking who. But at the same time, this is also the same team, basically, that lost as the number 1 seed last year. And I know that we're not...
Little Caesar's pizza was delicious.
And I'm not going to sit here and say that we are supposed to count what happened last year in this year's tournament seeding, because we're not, allegedly. But that has to play a part in some of the committee's minds of maybe we want to seed them as a 1 seed just to see if it can happen again.
I'll take more Little Caesars if it does. I know they're mighty quiet over in that chain all of a sudden. I wonder why.
All right, so we mentioned that there were no real significant snubs this year, that no team that got left out of the tournament really has a super legitimate bitch about being left out of the tournament. That being said, Erik, if you were to look at one team in the NIT and say that they could have had a very strong run in this NCAA tournament, who would you pick?
I mean, considering, yes, you could look at the Big Ten overall and say it was pretty meh outside of Michigan and Michigan State, but I think personally, if you had given Indiana a chance, they would really have surprised some people. The fact that they're a one-to-one line in the NIT and just that close, put them in a play-in game or even as one of those 12 seeds, a Sweet 16 run would not have overly amazed me.
Brandon, same question. What team in the NIT do you think would have made the best run in the NCAA tournament?
I think I'd have to agree with Erik that Indiana, if they were put in there, definitely could have made some noise in the tournament.
Jason?
I'm going to have to agree. Indiana could got hot at the right moment and made a good case and made some noise from, like Erik said, maybe a 12 seed. But even as an ACC fan, all ACC teams get invites pretty much. So we had to make room for them. So somebody's going to get some Cinderella team that could have went in, got kind of pushed aside to the NIT simply because we got to get the ACC teams in.
I'm actually going to be the difference here. I'm going to say that the team that I think could have made a surprising run in this tournament, could have been this year's Loyola Chicago even, is Furman, a team that started this year actually ranked in the top 25 at 7-0 after beating last year's national champions Villanova in Philadelphia.
I think personally the Paladins kind of peaked too soon.
I think you could certainly argue that. I mean, 25-7 is the finishing record. So obviously, after the shotgun start that they got off to, they clearly went downhill afterwards. But I would still argue that a team that beat the defending national champion would have to be in consideration as a potential bracket buster, would they not?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they had gotten in, if they'd won the conference, of course, I would have put them up there. But that's the problem with one-bid leagues.
Mm-hmm.
The other team that's in the NIT that I think could have had a major run had they been able to put anything together in the Big East is Butler.
Yeah.
And that's And that's just because Butler always puts together big runs.
Well, this was a very wacky Big East season.
Yeah, that said, Butler finished 500 on the year. So them not getting in is no argument. The NIT, putting them into the NIT is strictly probably for name value. They get Nebraska in the first round of the NIT tomorrow night.
Speaking of the Big East, how big did you guys pop when you first? I don't know if any of you guys have watched any of the Big East games on Fox or FS1, but them using Round Ball Rock on Fox this year.
I heard it and I was like, no way. No way. I'm like, I had to give Fox a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
I have a pretty good idea. I know where this next segment is going, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Jason, what player will have the biggest impact on this year's tournament?
This is a tough one. I don't know. I'm gonna say a little guy that can't stay in. That's so good that he blows out his own shoes, and that's Zion. I think he's going to use this as the showcase to show off his elite ability. And barring any injuries, he's going to just take over games down the stretch. And as much as I love Will Greer, I'm going to be just as much as a Duke supporter this March Madness.
Erik?
While I do agree, and I mean, let's face it, any individual player who will increase the net worth of an NBA franchise by $500 million by himself, yes, that's going to be the intrigue. However, there's a number 2 behind Zion that I'm going to keep an eye on, and I'm pretty sure other NBA teams will too. Ja Morant from Murray State. Granted, not as big, not as all around as Zion, but the number 1 pick is locked up. A lot of teams are going to be fighting for that number 2 pick as well, so there's going to be a lot of eyes on him.
Funny that you mentioned Ja Morant. Stay tuned. Brandon?
Yeah, Zion Williamson is definitely going to be the biggest name to watch in this tournament. And not just on the court in terms of how he plays, but I have a feeling that if there's any slightest issue where he's unsure if he's 100%, he's going to sit out the rest of it. And I will give a secondary player to watch, Miles Powell.
I feel that's minorly homerific.
Just a bit.
For those who don't know who Miles Powell is, since Brandon didn't give you the courtesy of telling you,
Fair enough.
He plays for Seton Hall.
He is the big man on campus.
No. Our big man on campus got suspended and ruled ineligible. 7 damn players.
If it's any consolation, we lost one of our best players due to NCAA ineligibility as well, Erik.
But Harry, 7 players for the entire season. That's what we were left with.
It was only Silvio De Sousa for us, but... And then
Juan Hernandez, known last year to Miami fans as DeJuan Huell.
I think you guys have the right team with your players, but I think you have the wrong person. I don't think it's going to come down to Zion Williamson for Duke. I think it's going to come down to his contemporary, R.J. Barrett. Barrett's the one that had to carry the team in Zion's absence. Barrett may be the one that has to carry the team should anything happen that Williamson re-aggravates the injury that he sustained against North Carolina as well.
The only thing that got hurt during that game was Nike stock.
And they bounced right back.
I could have sworn that those were Adidas sneakers that he was wearing that he blew out.
Nope.
No, they were Nikes.
Or
And
maybe
he
he came
did
back.
a full investigation involving a lot of physics as to why that shoe blew out, and even the new shoes that he's had since then. Oh, there's a lot of fat contracts waiting for him.
Are his new shoes Adidas? Is that what I was reading then?
I thought he's is going to. The rumor I heard is he's being pursued by Steph Curry and Under Armour
Mm-hmm. I heard the same thing.
For a lucrative contract. Well,
that's fine for him to be able to pursue said contract once his season is done. But when he came back, I know he wasn't. I don't believe he was wearing Nikes when he came back on the floor after blowing out that one against Carolina. Was he?
I'm not really for sure. I haven't. I wasn't looking at his feet.
I'll have to look into that there. All right, let's get into the actual heart of the reason why we're here. Let's get into some predictions, gentlemen, shall we?
Let's do it.
Oh, they are new Nike shoes. I was just looking that up.
Well, There you go. I guess I was wrong. All right,
Maybe
so we're gonna.
maybe instead of 10-year-olds making these shoes, they upgraded to the 13-year-olds.
Again,
Well, they
the
did
views
say
and
they
opinions.
sent their top people there, so.
Somebody got fired in that sweatshop. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah.
At minimum, but we won't discuss that. Buildings
Yeah,
have
let's.
on top of them for a reason.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on here. All right, so let's talk about our individual region major upsets here. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the first round because one of mine isn't in one of these regions, but it is, in your opinion, the biggest line drawn, the seating drawn upset that you have occurring in this bracket throughout the course of it. We start in the East. Erik, I start with you.
In the East, I've got a couple, and you would even mention about a weak number 3 seed, so I don't know how many people would have this as an upset, but when you don't go dancing for a while, you get a couple drinks in you, you're out on the floor, and if you look like me, you're really cut loose. Epic hair and all. So, in my bracket, I've got Yale. They are really, they're not going to go much farther beyond that, but I really think that they could go there and at least say, hey, yeah, we're Ivy League, but we're here for a reason.
Well, they know a thing or two about handling Tigers. Hi, Princeton.
I'll go next since mine is on the same wavelength as Erik. Just I have that team that you have them losing to getting past Yale, but not past their next opponent.
And which one of their next opponents is it?
That would be Maryland.
So a 6-3, really, Brandon?
That's the only real big upset I have. Look,
what are you talking about? I have the same pick, but I was going to change it when Brandon, just because Brandon said that, I was going to take a first round upset. But yeah, I mean, I had the same pick.
I mean, I'm not going to say that it's. I'm not saying that it's 6/3 isn't an upset, but if 3 is your biggest, if 3 seed lines is your biggest upset in the region, you must have that region going very chalk.
Yes, I do. The only lower seed I have winning in the first round is UCF.
I have a couple of lower seeds winning in the first round, and one of them is actually whoever wins this play-in game beating Maryland. But that's not my big one. I'll give you guys that in a second. Jason, did you have one that you wanted to chime in with?
Yeah, I mean, since he picked that one, I'm going to take a first round pick. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I didn't watch this school. Well, the team that's going to be upset, I didn't get to watch them much at all this season, actually. But they're an ACC school, and just in honor of Nelly, I'm going to take St. Louis over Virginia Tech.
I'm close. I have the right, but it's in that range. I just went the other way around. Virginia Tech winning, but I've got Liberty beating Mississippi State.
That was the other one I was looking at.
Liberty beating Mississippi State is mine, Erik, since you took Yale over LSU. I don't buy Mississippi State. I haven't bought them all season. They have been horrendously inconsistent. You could arguably say that about anybody in the SEC not named Kentucky this year, more or less. But, huh?
I was foreshadowing. You're foreshadowing a team.
All right, so yeah, I got the Liberty Flames taking out the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So you have a Bulldog winning in your upset, Erik. I have a Bulldog losing in mine.
Yeah, I actually have both. I've got one winning and one losing.
Let's go west, young men. The Western
Haven't you
bracket.
been told? California is full of whiskey, women, and gold.
Erik, Western bracket.
I've got another couple of upsets in this one, but I said about John Morant, I've got Murray State taking out Marquette.
I really fucking hate you.
That's mine as well. Murray State over Marquette in the first round. Okay, since Erik is taking that one, I'll go next year. I said it's great to be a Florida Gator. Said it's great to be a. Let me preface this by saying that we don't get screwed like we did against Auburn in the semifinals of the SEC tournament. I have Florida taking out Michigan in the round of 32.
I also have that.
No.
But I have one even bigger.
I have one a little bigger.
Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I have the same team, but I have him going over Florida State, and that's Murray State going over Florida State.
Ooh.
And
I
round
like that.
I'm not gonna lie. I've got that one too. If you look at my bracket, I've already got 12 seeds making the Sweet 16.
Wait, you have Liberty in your Sweet 16 as well?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Cinderella's going dancing, apparently. All right, Brandon, what do you got?
I have the winner of tonight's game over Texas Tech.
The winner of tonight's game actually plays tomorrow night's game.
Oh, okay, tomorrow's night's game.
Buffalo,
yeah,
6-11.
And I have them not only being Buffalo, but also being Texas Tech as well.
I strongly disagree with that. Buffalo is really good this year.
Yeah, I got like Buffalo going to my. I've got Buffalo going pretty deep.
I have the Bulls losing to Texas Tech in the round of 32, but I definitely have them getting by either Arizona State or St. John's.
I haven't beating Texas Tech.
I think Texas Tech is going to struggle against Northern Kentucky, honestly. The Norse are coming back for a second season in a row, and this is a much more cohesive team than the one that appeared last year and got a 15 seed. And that Northern Kentucky team gave Kentucky fits for the vast majority of that game. We move over to the South, Erik.
I mean, the South, I have to admit, I don't see a lot really going on. Well, I hate to break it to you. I got the South as my bracket that's going chalk.
Okay, so no upset pick for the South.
Granted, for the most part, if we're going upsets as far as deeper on, there's a certain little 6 seed that I've got making quite a run.
Are you looking at my fucking bracket?
I have something else happening to that 6 seed, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. Jason, you seem pissed. You might as well go next.
Yeah, I have a certain 6 seed in the South going to my Elite 8.
Look, I don't know the hive mind thing we've got going on. I don't know if I like it just yet. Okay? You got to warn me before this thing.
All right, Brandon, I'm going to let you talk in a second here because I feel the need to break up the bromance here. I have a team from that match going to the Elite 8, but it's not the 6 seed. I have St. Mary's beating Villanova and going all the way to the Elite 8.
Wow.
St. Mary's is strong this year. I just don't think that they've got the depth.
Tell that to Gonzaga.
That is true.
Gonzaga should not have been a 1 seed,
Agreed.
and they really wasn't playing for a 1 seed in their conference tournament. They knew the worst case scenario, they was getting a 2. So you're not going to lay everything out there when you know the worst possible scenario is you're a 2 seed.
And personally, because St. Mary's beat them, I would have had them on my 3 line.
Brandon, what's your upset for the South?
My big upset for the South is Purdue going down in the first round to Old Dominion.
So Old Dominion, wow. That one's ballsy. I like it. Because I actually thought about that myself.
And then my other smaller one is Iowa winning in the 7-10 spot.
I have one for you. Once again, Virginia becomes the first 1 seed to go down. It's not a UMBC situation, though. Gardner-Webb does not beat them.
Oh, damn it.
Oklahoma does.
I could see that. I do not have that, but I could see it happening.
What was that, Jason?
I said I got Oklahoma getting beat by Ole Miss.
Same.
I've seen enough of Ole Miss this year that I don't buy them as a threat, much like Mississippi State. For much the same reason, inconsistency. Let's move over to the Midwest here. I feel like somebody's about to break my heart in this prediction. Erik?
Now, going to wait. Let me double check. Scrolling. Okay,
I want to go last on this one.
No, I should go last. Mine's gonna be the biggest.
You think?
Yeah,
All right.
If we're looking Midwest, yeah, I've got Ohio State taking out Iowa State. That's my main upset of that part of the bracket.
I'll also have that, but
I'll take that a step further. I have Ohio State beating Houston as well.
As do I.
I'll take that and call Brandon's bluff. I've got Iowa State versus Wofford in the Elite Eight.
I have something even bigger than that.
I know what you have. You probably have Houston versus Seton Hall.
No, I have Ohio State against Seton Hall.
Say who?
Well, damn.
I have way too much faith in Wofford for that one.
We've been on a roll this year, and especially at the end of the season.
Can I just state for the record that if the Wofford or Seton Hall versus Kentucky thing happens, I'm tearing up my bracket right then and there?
Well, see, here's the thing. We beat them once already this year.
And don't you think that means that they're going to be ready for you the second time?
Perhaps, but it gives us confidence going into the game.
Yeah, and you may want to tear up your bracket because I'm sorry, I got Wofford.
Okay, hold on. I want to go on a side bet here. Since you're so adamant about Seton Hall and you're going to be a homer, I will take Wofford -4 against Seton Hall with you.
Ooh.
It's -4?
No, I will give you 4 points.
Oh, hold on. I have a USA Today in front of me. I can actually check the exact line. Give me 1 second. You guys talk. I'll look.
Okay. But
if that line, especially if it's more favorable, I'll take that 4. Yeah, I would bet Wofford on that one.
Wofford is a 3-point favorite against Seton Hall.
So I just off the top of my head, I called it as a 4. Have you seen them play?
No, I have not seen them play, but I know they are a very high octane offense.
They are a high octane, old school Princeton offense. They're very fundamentally sound, but they get up and down the court very nicely.
I'll lay those 4 points. I'll flat out.
They are good.
If it's any consolation, Brandon, at least you won't lose to us this year.
Like I'm telling you, get you a Wofford hoodie and start wearing it because it's get ahead of the curve. Just call me Dickie V because it's going to happen.
It's gonna be awesome, baby.
Ginger Thomas has Ginger Thomas ever let you down? No, he's not. He comes through in the crotch.
And the clutch.
Take his advice. Bet Wofford over Kentucky. Make millions.
Although technically,
Rachel Bonetta call me.
And where can they bet, Erik?
Of course, mybookie.com. Come on now. If you don't know by now about MyBookie and using promo code PAT to get a 50% bonus on your first deposit, where it's practically the best betting days of the year, God, then you're just living under a rock.
Can I just point out that that's my gimmick?
You're slow.
I've been infringed, and I do not appreciate it.
You see that? The bad thing about it, you see that softball just coming, and you just had to watch Erik knock it out of the park.
And I mean, come on. He gave you plenty of time. You stole the signals. He tipped a pitch when he was saying Wofford -4. You just let it go right on by you. This is what clutch hitters do.
They brought me in for relief.
My personal space has been violated, and I do not appreciate it. All right, let's get back on track. Like that ever happens on this show.
Yeah, really.
There are upsets. Now let's talk about our actual predictions going forward from the Sweet 16. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Ready.
Let's do it.
All right, Erik, we start with you, and we go from the East. We're going to do it region by region, individual by individual, and then we'll play out the Final Four once we get to it. So how does your East Sweet 16 play out, Erik? Who do you have? Who's in your Elite Eight? What team goes to the Final Four?
I've got Duke beating Liberty in the Sweet 16. I've got Michigan State beating Maryland, and I've got Duke beating Michigan State to make the Final Four.
Jason.
I've got Duke winning, Michigan State winning. Let me get back. Okay. Duke, Michigan State, Gonzaga, Michigan, all going to the Elite Eight. That's to the West. I gave you the West too, because that's how I'm looking at my bracket.
I need your other two teams in the Sweet 16 in the East.
God, I gotta scroll back, you asshole.
Damn it.
Duke, Virginia Tech, which I thought I actually picked them being upset. Maryland and Michigan State.
Okay, so you have a pair of conference matchups in your. You have a pair of conference matchups in your Sweet 16.
Yeah, I have 3 ACC teams in my Sweet 16 out of the East.
Well, ACC adjacent in Maryland's case, but. All right, Brandon, you're up.
For my Sweet 16 in the East,
Yes.
I have Duke, Va-Tech, with Duke winning that matchup, and then Maryland and Michigan State, with Mich State winning.
And then who goes to the Final Four?
Mich State.
Ooh.
I've got Duke going to the Final Four.
I have.
Surprise no one.
Yeah. Shocker. I have Duke over Virginia Tech, Michigan State over Temple, although it's looking like Belmont's going to beat them, so I guess Michigan State over Belmont. I'm off to a fabulous start. But anyway, and Duke over Sparty to win the East. Let's go out to the West, Erik. Sweet 16 forward to the Final Four.
Gonzaga beating Murray State in the Sweet 16. Michigan over Texas Tech. Michigan beating Gonzaga to make the Final Four.
Jason.
I've got the exact same thing. I've got Michigan in my Final Four going over Gonzaga in the Elite Eight.
Who are their Sweet 16 opponents?
I got Gonzaga over Baylor, Murray State over FSU, Buffalo over Texas Tech, and Michigan over Florida. Then you got Michigan facing Gonzaga, with Michigan going to the Final Four.
Brandon.
What bracket are we on right now?
The West.
The West.
Okay. I've
Left
got
side bottom.
I've got Baylor and Marquette, with Marquette winning. And I've got
Wait. Did this sumbitch just pick Baylor over Gonzaga?
I did.
And try to slickly do so because he didn't mention it during his upset picks earlier?
Because I had even bigger upsets in that bracket, which I am about to get to. And one of which you'll be very happy about, Harry.
Continue.
I have the win.
So Baylor, Marquette.
And the winner of Arizona State versus St. John's versus Florida, with Florida getting to the Elite Eight.
Holy McJeebus!
Who do you have coming out of the Baylor-Marquette game?
Marquette.
Okay, so Florida, Marquette. Who goes to the Final Four?
Marquette.
You freaking homer.
Are you higher than draft pussy right now?
If you are, tell me what strain so I can find it.
I mean, I'm a massive Florida homer, and even I don't have them getting out of the Sweet 16. I have Gonzaga, Florida State, Texas Tech, and Florida. Gonzaga, Texas Tech, Gonzaga to the Final Four. We move over to the South, Erik.
Virginia over Kansas State, Villanova over Tennessee, and part of me hates to do this, but Virginia over Villanova to get to the Final Four.
They're so boring. Jason?
I got Virginia over Ole Miss, Oregon over K-State, Nova over Purdue, Tennessee, Cincinnati, then Nova over Tennessee, Virginia over Oregon, Villanova over Virginia.
Brandon?
I have Virginia and Wisconsin, with Wisconsin being Virginia, and Villanova and Tennessee, with Tennessee winning, and Wisconsin making it to the Final Four.
4 words I hate saying on this show. I agree with Brandon, kind of. I have Wisconsin beating Oklahoma, St. Mary's beating Cincinnati, but Wisconsin going to the Final Four beating St. Mary's. Frankly, I'm expecting all hell to break loose in the South.
The South shall rise again.
Okay, I just want everybody to know that Erik is a black man saying that, so I think we can get away with it.
He's black Irish. It was confirmed.
Exactly. And remember, you can send all hate mail to s.carmer@gmail.com.
Actually, you can send all hate mail to...
Oh, no. Ty Bosch, no.
Hold on. Let me find it.
Nope. Nope. Moving on. Erik, Midwest.
Wait a minute.
You can send all hate mail to 732.
No. Use his microphone. No.
Besides,
We're not doing that.
That's not hate mail. Those would be hate texts. Completely different thing.
We're not doing
your
this.
schedule. That's to get your schedule changed at BW3 to wash dishes.
Erik, Midwest.
UNC beating Kansas. Houston beating Wofford. North Carolina making it to the Final Four.
So you have 3 1s and a 2.
I know.
You basic bitch.
Look, I'm surrounded by people, by blondes wearing yoga pants, drinking pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks. The basic is going to rub off. That is until I break out my camera, offer a couple $100, and then let nature take its course.
Jason?
I've got North Carolina over Kansas, Iowa State over Wofford, North Carolina going to the Final Four.
Brandon?
I have Kansas over UNC, the Hall over Ohio State, and Kansas, unfortunately, beating our asses again.
He even admits that he's our bitch.
I would not be surprised if they won, though.
I have North Carolina over Kansas. Everybody who listened to last year's knows I am a huge Kansas fan, but this is not the same Kansas team as we had last year. There's no Devontae Green. There's no LeGerald Vick, and Udoka Azubuike ended up getting hurt during the season, is out for the rest of the year. Carolina over Kansas, Kentucky over Ohio State, Kentucky over Carolina to go to the Final Four. Erik, play out your Final Four for us.
Duke in a little bit of a squeaker over Michigan. UNC finally putting Virginia and their boredom out of their misery to set up a Tobacco Road rematch yet again. And, yes, Duke does take the title.
Would this be the first time ever that the teams have met 4 times in a season?
In the men's tournament, I would say yes.
If not, it has to be close. I mean, I think it happened in the women's tournament a couple of years ago with Tennessee and South Carolina.
Yes. That actually happened a couple of times in the women's tournament because you go back to when Maryland beat Duke.
Jason, run your Final Four.
Duke over Michigan, UNC over Nova, Duke 87, North Carolina 85.
Oh, are we giving scores too? Because I could give the score from as well.
I'm overachieving.
Feel free.
Yeah,
Feel free, Erik.
I've got Duke 80, Tar Heels 73.
Brandon, run it.
Mich State over Marquette, Wisconsin over Kansas, and I think Wisconsin will be able to pull it out.
Mm-hmm. Damn pack of Badgers.
There is a level of homerism here that I am frankly uncomfortable with. And I say this as a Florida Gator fan.
Somehow I said that I would be the least homer person on the show, and yeah.
I'm not a homer.
Yes, you have, Duke.
Erik has Duke at the same time.
That's all well and good. Erik's not a Duke fan.
Thank you.
I'm a Duke. I'm a fan of Coach K and great basketball. What can I say? I met the man. He's a good guy.
I'm not saying he's not a good guy, and I even listened to his radio show when I had Sirius XM, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be rooting for his team. If we had more than 7 scholarship players, we would have been able to beat him.
I got
Right, now, all right, Jason, now I'm curious. Without looking it up, spell Krzyzewski.
Coach K. Krzyzewski.
I can even spell Krzyzewski without looking it up.
I can't.
I can't fully. I know what it starts with.
Krzyzewski.
I could go as far as the KRYSZ.
Yeah, same here.
Mike. Mike.
I was waiting for like an MICKEY.
I know him as Mikey. Mikey K.
Anyway, Gonzaga
Happens if you just open up a can of alphabet soup, look at it, and that's his name.
I feel like that's how they came up with it. Yes.
Just a lot of consonants that make no sense.
Gonzaga over Duke, Kentucky over Wisconsin, Gonzaga 67-61.
At least an alphabet soup instead of alphabets. But then you look at your message in alphabets and it just says, ooh, and then you realize you've been eating Cheerios the whole damn time.
Exactly.
That's messed up.
And this issue of Just a Tip has been brought to you by our friends at Buffalo Wild Wings. If you give us a call, we'll give you a dishwasher.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Eat, drink, play. Wait, that's David Buster's.
Nice job.
Buffalo Wild Wings. We got a chair just for you.
We're not topping that, so we're not gonna try. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest. Gentlemen, enjoy the tournament. We'll hopefully be back with you next week for our re-bracket / breakdown of week 1. This has been the tip-off here on the W2M Network. Where can people find you online, Erik?
At Squid Sports Head. We're also Soccer to the Max is starting to get into the swing of things. We've started this season. We've got another episode coming up Thursday after the men's national team plays Ecuador.
Ecuador. Brandon, where can people find you online?
They can find me online on Twitter at Bisco_GothamSN and on Facebook. And the wrestling podcasts have started to come back, so check those out.
Yeah. There's supposed to be a pay-per-view podcast too, but that's not going so well.
Yes.
Jason, I feel your pain.
You can find me. I just wrapped up a show of source material with my former co-host on From the Cheap Seats, Jesse Starcher. Also, you can look me up at 732-648.
No!
Or at Turkaglue822 on the Twitter.
He tried to get in there so stealthily.
Yeah, and if I wouldn't have caught on halfway through, he probably would have.
I couldn't. I tried. As soon as I got through those first 6 numbers, I couldn't hold it in anymore.
Jesus. You can find me online at HEB the Eagle on Twitter, even though I admittedly barely use it. In addition, Facebook, Harry Broadhurst. Yes, the Chairshot Wrestling Group, the Wrestling to the Max Wrestling Group. Chairshot.com has my Progress Wrestling and Impact Wrestling reviews. They also have my Raw reaction that I do with Tony Acero and Andrew Balaz every Monday night at 11:30. Brandon and I have brought back the SmackDown review since Brandon's now doing Raw with Cedric Cologne. Did you guys do this week's episode of Raw, Brandon?
No, we didn't get the chance to do this week.
Are we doing SmackDown?
If you want to do SmackDown, we can.
Do you want to knock that out tonight, or do you want to just do that tomorrow?
We can knock it out after this.
Very well. So, for Jason Teasley, Erik Watkins, and Brandon Biskobing, I'm Harry Broadhurst. You have been listening to Just the Tip-Off here on the W2M Network. You got your wish, Jason. I kept it in for you. You happy?
732-648.
No!
Ow! End the show, Brandon. We'll catch you guys next week for the follow-up.